وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. Then to continue with Usool Al Thalatha, the three fundamental principles of Sheikh Al-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah, with the explanation of Sheikh Saleh-Al-Fawzan hafidhahullah. Then last time we had the section on the types of Taghut. The types of Taghut. And before that we had the definition of a Taghut. That a Taghut is everyone, everything whom the servant goes beyond the limit with. Whether it is one worshipped, one followed, or one obeyed. Everyone that the servant goes beyond limits with regard to, whether it is one who is worshipped, one followed, or one obeyed. And last time we had the section that the heads of the Taghuts, that there are many Taghuts, but the heads of them are 5. And we had that the first of them is Iblis. May Allah curse him. May Allah put him at a distance away from His mercy. And that he, Iblis, he is the source of evil, and he is the chief of the Taghuts. He is the head of all the Taghuts. Why? Because he is the one who calls to other than the worship of Allah. He is the one behind that. He is the one behind shirk. He is the one who calls to other than the following of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that we follow others in disobedience to what he came with, and that we obey others in declaring permissible that which Allah has made forbidden, and vice versa. Iblis is behind all of that. So no doubt he is the head of the Taghuts. Secondly, whoever is worshipped and is pleased with that. Whoever is worshipped by the people and is pleased with being worshipped. Sheikh Fawzan made the difference there. He said because there are some who are worshipped and they were never pleased with it, such as Isa alayhi salam, and such as the righteous people who called to Tawheed, called to the Sunnah, and then they died and passed away, and then the ignorant ones from the later people took them as objects of worship, devoted worship towards them. They were never pleased with that in their lifetime, they never called to it. So that's why we say whoever is worshipped and he is pleased with that, then he is a Taghut. Thirdly, that whoever calls the people to worship himself, such as Fir'aun. Sheikh Al-Fawzan gave the example of Fir'aun, the Pharaoh, and such as the heads of the extreme Sufis, those who call their followers to worship them, whether it be in their lifetime, encourage them to devote acts of worship to them, or after their death. But they say, after I've died, if you have any needs, any problems, come to my grave and I'll help you. Come to my grave, do such and such, and I'll help you. And I like that shirk. The fourth of the Taghuts is whoever claims knowledge of the ghaib, the hidden and the unseen. Sheikh Fawzan mentioned that from them is the sorcerers, the astrologers, the fortune tellers. In whatever method they try and use to claim knowledge of the hidden and the unseen, they claim that they have knowledge of the hidden and the unseen. Then whoever claims that he has that, then he is a Taghut. And fifthly, whoever judges by other than that which Allah sent down, then he is a Taghut. And we had the important point that Sheikh Fawzan made there, the difference there, that there is a difference to be made with regard to someone who judges by other than that which Allah sent down. That indeed, if a person judges by something other than what Allah sent down, then if he holds that that thing that he judges by, that law or that custom or whatever it is, if he holds that that is better than what Allah sent down, then he is a kafir, disbeliever. If he holds that it's equal to Allah's legislation, then he is likewise a kafir. This is major kufr. Or even if he just holds it's permissible to do so, he holds that I have the right, it is permissible for me to judge by other than what Allah sent down, then that person will be a kafir. That is major kufr. However, if it's a person who acknowledges the judgment of Allah, that is what is best, that is what is legislated and befitting, and he admits that what he is doing is a sin, it's something evil, he knows that what he's doing is wrong, then that's a sin that he's committing, and it will be lesser kufr. Lesser kufr. As was in accordance with the statement of Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu, And At-Tabari brings a report in that regard, which is a side point here. At-Tabari brings a report from Ibn Abbas, famous Mufassir of the Tabi'een, radiyallahu anhuma, Man jahada ma anzal Allah faqad kafar, wa man aqarra bihi wa lam yahkum fahuwa zalimun fasiq. It was in tafsir of the ayahs from Surah Al-Ma'idah, the 5th surah, ayahs 44, 45 and 47, with regard to judging by other than what Allah sent down, being kufr or dhulm or fisq. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu said with regard to these ayahs of course very often used by the Khawarij of earlier times and the Khawarij of later times, just to make blanket statements of kufr upon the ummah or upon those in authority of the ummah without any tafsir whatsoever. That's it, kafir. So Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, Tabari reports from him that he said with regard to those ayahs, whoever denies what Allah sent down, then faqad kafar, then he has committed kufr, disbelief. And whoever affirms it but does not judge with it, then he is a zalim, a wrongdoer, a fasiq, an evildoer. Likewise, At-Tabari reports from Ata, from the A'imma, from the Imams of the Tabi'een, that he said, it is kufr duna kufr, wa fisq duna fisq, wa dhulm duna dhulm. It is kufr which is less than kufr, fisq which is less than fisq, means sin which is wickedness outside Islam, and it is oppression, wrongdoing, which is less than dhulm, which is kufr. And for further details, then you can refer to the notes which accompany this series here, which you will find at the usual place on the internet, in Shaa Allah. And with regard to what comes here, then Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah, he continues giving the evidence for what preceded with regard to the Taghut and rejection of Taghut, the obligation of rejecting Taghut. He said, وَالدَّلِيلُ قَوْلُهُ تَعَالَى, and this being on page 306, this Lebanese edition, page 238 of the Egyptian print. وَالدَّلِيلُ قَوْلُهُ تَعَالَى لَا إِكْرَاهَ فِي الدِّينِ قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ الرُّشْدُ مِنَ الْغَيِّ فَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ وَيُؤْمِنْ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدِ اسْتَمْسَكَ بِالْعُرْوَةِ الْوُثْقَى لَا انْفِصَامَ لَهَا وَاللَّهُ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. Al-ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah. He said, and the proof is his saying, He the Most High. And he quotes the ayah 256 in Surah Al-Baqarah, 2nd surah, the ayah after Ayatul Kursi, with the explanation, no one is to be compelled to enter the religion. True guidance has been made clear and distinct from falsehood. So whoever rejects at-Taghut and truly believes in and worships Allah alone, then he has grasped the firmest handhold that will never break. And Allah is all-hearing, all-knowing. Sheikh Al-Fawzan, Hafidhullah, said in explanation, He the Perfect and Most High said, and he quotes the ayah just preceded, لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي فمن يكفر بالطاغوت ويؤمن بالله فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم. Ayah with the explanation, no one is to be compelled to enter the religion. True guidance has been made clear and distinct from falsehood. So whoever rejects that Taghut and truly believes in and worships Allah alone, then he has grasped the firmest handhold that will never break. And Allah is all-hearing, all-knowing. Shaykh Al-Fawzan said in explanation, there is to be no ikrah, there is to be no compulsion upon entry into the religion. Meaning, no one is to be forced to enter into Islam against his will. Because entry into Islam must occur as a result of being convinced and from believing in the heart. And no one is to be forced into it against his will. This is not possible, because the hearts, no one can act regarding them except Allah the Perfect and Most High. So no one may force anyone to enter into Islam, because we do not possess and own the hearts. Rather, it is just Allah, the Majestic and Most High. He is the one who owns them and acts with regard to them. However, we should call to Islam and encourage people towards it. We strive and fight in Allah's cause against whoever disbelieves, for the spread of Islam, and to provide an opportunity to whoever wants to accept Islam, and in order to subdue the enemies of Allah. But as for Al-Hidayah, as for guidance, then it is in the hand of Allah, the Perfect and Most High. No one is to be forced upon Iman, true faith, and Islam. No one is to be forced against their will to enter into Islam, against their will. They don't want to. As a side point here, then Shaykh Muhammad Aman, rahimahullah, he stresses the point there again with regard to La ikraha fid deen. There's to be no compulsion upon the religion. Just so that no one misunderstands it, sometimes it's understood that people wrongly quote this to mean it doesn't matter then. Everyone can be upon what they're upon. Doesn't matter. We're Muslims, but they're Christians, they're Jews. Everybody's what they. You shouldn't compare. You should leave them upon what they're upon. So to correct the false understanding, then Shaykh Muhammad Aman, rahimahullah, he said, the meaning of that is not that you do not call the people to the religion. And the fact that we don't compel them, we don't force them into the religion against their will, become Muslim. That doesn't mean, though, that we don't call them, we don't invite them to Islam, just as Sheikh Fawzan said here. Rather, we do. That's our duty. Then Sheikh Fawzan said, Hafidhullah, rather, this is something which relates back to the person himself. Then he, the Most High, said, قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ الرُّشْدُ مِنَ الْغَيِّ. In the continuation of the ayah, the explanation, true guidance has been made clear and distinct from falsehood. Shaykh said, so Islam, and all praise is for Allah, does not contain anything which people have to be forced upon against their will. Rather, all of it is beloved and desirable. The whole of Islam, what you'll find within it, is beloved and desirable. Whereas kufr, disbelief, and shirk, all of it is evil, and all of it is something detestable. So this has become clear from that. Guidance has been distinguished. Ar-rushd, guidance has been distinguished. The Shaykh said, ar-rushd means al-haq, the truth. It's become clear from al-ghay, which is al-batil, which is falsehood. The truth has been made clear from falsehood. And a person has intellect, he has aql, he has intellect. And he has the ability to think, so that he can weigh and compare truth against falsehood. And his thinking, if it is sound, and if it is free from desires and ulterior motives, then his thinking will guide him to, his sound thinking will guide him to acceptance of the truth, without having to be forced. The Shaykh said, this is one saying with regard to the ayah. You know what we've just heard now? That's one saying in explanation of the ayah. That's what the ayah means. Then the second saying, he said, and the second saying is that this ayah came down with regard to the people of the book. Firstly, that it's a general statement that nobody is to be compelled into entering Islam. Truth has been made clear from falsehood, and so on. He said the second saying, though, is that this ayah came down with regard to the people of the book, meaning the people of the book specifically. And that the people of the book, Ahlul Kitab, are not to be compelled to enter into Islam. Rather, if they want to remain upon their religion, then they are to be left to do so, with the condition that they hand over the jizya, this tax that they give to the Muslims, al-jizya, but with the condition they hand over the jizya to the Muslims and they are in a state of being humbled. And as for other than them, from the disbelievers, then nothing will be accepted from them except Islam or being killed, because they have no religion. They have no religion, and al-wathaniyya, idol worship, is a false and futile religion. So that's the second explanation of the ayah. But this ayah refers particularly to Jews and Christians. If Islam attacks a land, conquers a land, then the Jews and Christians, people of the book, they have a choice. They can enter into Islam. If they don't want to, they can stay as they are, but they have to pay this tax to the Muslims, the jizya to the Muslims, in a state of being subdued and humbled. But the rest of them, no, that won't be accepted from them. Then the Shaykh said, and the third saying is that this ayah was abrogated, mansukha, abrogated by the ayah commanding jihad. So this was the case initially, before jihad was legislated. Then jihad was legislated and the ayah was abrogated. So the Shaykh has mentioned these three sayings. In the ayah, originally the ayah applied that we didn't force anyone to enter into Islam. Everyone could be upon what they were upon. Then the ayah came down about jihad, then the situation changed. The Shaykh said, however, the first saying is what is correct. The first of those three sayings, that is the correct saying. What we heard first, that's the correct saying about it. No one is to be compelled upon entry into Islam against his will. No one. Shaykh said, so the first saying is what is correct, that the ayah is not abrogated, and that the religion cannot be entered into the hearts by force. Rather, it can only enter by choice. If someone only become Muslim by his own choice, not by us forcing him against his will, then he becomes, no, that's not the case. However, whoever does not accept the religion, he will be dealt with in a manner which befits him. Which befits him in particular, in the different cases. Whether it be being killed, or taking the jizya tax from him, if he be from those regarding whom Allah, the Perfect and Most High, has legislated that it be taken from. Then Sheikh Fawzan continues with the continuation of the ayah. فَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ وَيُؤْمِنْ بِاللَّهِ. The explanation, so whoever rejects at-taghut and he truly believes and worships Allah. The Shaykh said, at-taghut, what is meant is all of the taghuts, in worship, in following, or in obedience. All of those have to be rejected. We have to reject all of those. Whether it be in matter of worship, those that are taghut in worship, or in following, or in obedience. Because the word at-taghut here is general, it's left general. Then he said, if it's left general, the principle there, if it's in the Arabic language, if something's left general there, then it applies to whatever it applies to. All of the cases. Then the Shaykh said, rejecting the taghut was put before having iman in Allah. In the ayah, what was mentioned first, kufr, rejecting the taghut, was mentioned before iman in Allah. Shaykh said, so rejecting the taghut is mentioned before iman in Allah, because iman, having true faith in Allah, having belief in Allah, will not benefit except after rejection of the taghut. So whoever believes in Allah, but he does not reject the taghut, then his belief will not benefit him. So the person who says that he believes, he is a believer, and he prays, and he fasts, and he gives the zakah, and he performs the hajj, and he performs the acts of obedience, However, he does not disassociate himself from shirk, nor from the people of shirk. And he says, this is not my business. He says, they are not my business, those people. Let them alone then, they're not my business. What should I do? What should I do with them? Not my business. The Shaykh said, this person will not be counted as a Muslim because he has not rejected at-Taghut. So there must be rejection of at-Taghut, and it is to reject at-Taghut and to believe as your creed in its falsehood, and to distance yourself from it and from its people. This is essential. So his iman will not be correct except after rejecting the Taghut. And there occurs in the other ayah, the Shaykh said, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. Surah Al-Nahl, the 16th surah, ayah 36. With the explanation, and we sent a messenger to every nation, commanding worship Allah alone and avoid the Taghut. Shun the Taghut. Reject the Taghut. Sheikh Fawzan said, so the worship of Allah will not be correct except through avoiding the Taghut. The person worships Allah, but he's not freed himself from the worship of other things besides Allah. His worship of Allah will not be correct. The Shaykh said, two opposites cannot come together. Two complete opposites cannot come together. Iman, true faith, and kufr, disbelief, cannot come together in the heart. And the Shaykh explains that. He said, Iman, true faith, and al-kufr al-akbar, meaning major disbelief, cannot come together in the heart. But as for al-kufr al-asghar, lesser disbelief, lesser kufr, then it can come together. A person can have within him a lesser kufr, a branch of kufr, lesser kufr. That can happen. As for major kufr, major shirk, major kufr, and iman, they can't come together in one heart. Then there comes the continuation of the text, saying of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah, وَهَذَا هُوَ مَعْنَى لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ وَفِي الْحَدِيثِ رَأْسُ الْأَمْرِ الْإِسْلَامِ وَعَمُودُهُ الصَّلَاةِ وَذِرْوَةُ سَنَامِهِ الْجِهَادُ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. وفي النسخ الأخرى زيادة والله أعلم وفي بعض النسخ والله أعلم وصلى الله على محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم. Continuation and the completion of the text of Shaykh al-Islam, that he said, and this is the meaning of La ilaha illallah, none has the right to be worshipped except Allah. And there occurs in the hadith, the head of the affair is al-Islam, and its supporting pillar is the prayer, and its highest part is jihad in Allah's cause. And that's where the text ends in this version here. And in the other versions there occurs the addition that Shaykh al-Islam added, Wallahu a'lam, and Allah knows best. And in some of the editions of the books and the versions there occurs the end of the text is Wallahu a'lam, and Allah knows best, and may Allah extol Muhammad and his true followers and his companions and grant them peace and security. Ameen. Sheikh Al-Fawzan hafidhahullah, he said in explanation, the Shaykh said, and this is the meaning of La ilaha illallah, none has the right to be worshipped except Allah. Meaning, rejection of at-Taghut and true faith in Allah. Then the Shaykh said, explain this and explain the hadith which follows, that the head of the affair is Islam. He said, Al-Islam is, and he gives the definition which we've had before, this important definition. If we don't know it, we need to memorize it and understand it and memorize this. It's not something you can overlook, this point here. Something every single person needs to know, understand and memorize. So I said, Al-Islam is Al-Istislamu Lillah Bit-Tawheed Wal-Inqiyadu Lahu Bit-Ta'ah Wal-Khulusu Min Ash-Shirki Wa Ahlihi. That Islam is to submit to Allah with Tawheed and to yield to Him with obedience and to free oneself from shirk and its people. The Shaykh said, this is the head of the affair of the religion. The Shahadatan, the two testifications, they are the head of Islam, and they are the asl, the foundation of Islam. So a person will not enter into Islam unless he comes with the Shahadatain, the two testifications, uttering them, saying them upon his tongue, and having knowledge of them, and acting upon them, and holding them as his creed and belief, his aqeedah. A person will not be Muslim except with that. Then the Shaykh said, he explained the hadith. As a side point before continuing, they mention a footnote here. This hadith is reported by Tirmidhi, that the head of the affair is Islam, and its supporting pillar is the prayer, and its highest part is jihad in Allah's cause. And the hadith being reported, as they mention here, by Tirmidhi and An-Nasa'i in Al-Kubra, his big sunan, his sunan Al-Kubra, as a hadith of Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiyallahu anhu. And the hadith declared sahih, authentic by Sheikh Al-Albani rahimahullah. So Sheikh Al-Fawzan said, continuing, the religion is likened to a body which has a head and a main support and a highest part. If I'm going to put it another way, a body or the like, which has a head, a back, like a backbone, a main support, and a hump or a highest part. So if the head is cut off, or if there is no head, then life cannot carry on. Likewise, without Tawheed, the religion cannot remain. Without Tawheed, there won't be any religion which can continue. Because it is the head which, if it is cut or passes away, then life passes away and the body is destroyed. And its amud, its main supporting pillar, which it stands upon, is the salah, is the prayer. So without its supporting pillar, Islam will not stand. Like a house or a dwelling made of animal hair, or a tent, if it has no pillar which it can rest upon, which can support it, it will not stand. So a house cannot stand except with a support. So if the support is lost, the house will not stand. Likewise the prayer. If it is lost, then Islam will not stand. Therefore the ulama, the scholars, have said that whoever abandons the prayer out of laziness, he becomes a disbeliever in the correct saying. The Shaykh is indicating something that keeps coming up here. There is difference of opinion amongst the people of knowledge. And Sheikh Al-Fawzan, as we see, he takes the view of those scholars who hold that abandoning the prayer, even out of laziness, is disbelief, major disbelief, which takes you out of Islam. That's why the Shaykh said, and therefore, because the prayer is the support, the supporting pillar, therefore the scholars have said that whoever abandons the prayer out of laziness, then he becomes a disbeliever in the correct saying, even if he acknowledges its obligation, since there is no benefit in acknowledging its obligation if he does not implement it and he does not act upon it. There will be no benefit in that. And the man who says, yeah, I agree that the prayer is obligatory, prayer time comes, he doesn't pray. Every prayer time comes, he doesn't pray. But I acknowledge it's obligatory, but he never prays. So I said, there's no benefit in that. Then he said, and therefore the verifiers from the people of knowledge judge that the person who abandons the prayer deliberately, even if he acknowledges its obligation, he is a disbeliever. Then he said, and as for if he denies its obligation, then he is a disbeliever by consensus of the Muslims. If you find a person who denies the obligation, then by consensus of the Muslims, he's a disbeliever, it's outside Islam. The difference is only with regard to someone who acknowledges, he agrees to its obligation, but he doesn't actually do it. He's out of laziness, he doesn't practically pray. Is he a kafir or not? As we saw, Sheikh Saleh-Al-Fawzan holds the view, he is a kafir, disbeliever. Then the Sheikh said, continuing, وَذِرْوَةُ سَنَامِهِ الْجِهَادُ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. And its highest part, or its hump, its highest part, is jihad in Allah's cause. Sheikh said, the highest part of the affair, which is the religion, is jihad in Allah's cause. So jihad is a proof of the strength of Islam. It's a proof that Islam is strong. When jihad is in Allah's cause is found, then that is a proof that Islam is in a condition of strength. Because jihad cannot occur except as a result of strength in iman, strength of true faith, and physical strength. Quwwatu iman wa quwwatu madda. Jihad cannot occur correctly except as a result of strength of iman and physical strength. He said, so the Prophet ﷺ mentioned three matters for the religion: the head, the supporting pillar, and the highest part. So without the head, the religion will not exist at all. So the person who does not establish the head, which is Tawheed, he will have no religion. Then there occurs here in this Lebanese version, Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad. So it's as if the Shaykh was finishing a lesson here, or Wallahu a'lam. And Allah knows best, and may Allah extol our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In other versions, such as in the Egyptian print and in other versions, the line here does not occur. Rather, the text, of course, in both versions anyway, continues. The Shaykh then said, and the person who does not pray. So he mentioned the affair of the person who is without Tawheed. Then there's no religion. He has no religion. Then he said, and the person who does not pray the salah, he does not pray. Then the religion will not be established for him. It will not stand for him. Even if he bears witness that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah, and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Because it requires a supporting pillar, which the religion can stand upon. And it cannot be found except through the prayer. And if jihad is absent, then the strength of Islam will be absent. And it will be an Islam which is in a condition of weakness. And the Muslims will be in a weak state. So there will be no strength for Islam and the Muslims except through jihad in Allah's cause, the mighty and majestic. So it is a sign of strength, and its absence is a sign of weakness. This is the manner in which the Messenger ﷺ likened these three affairs with regard to the religion: a head, a main support, and a highest part. Just as a camel which has a hump, this shows that it is strong. A camel has got a strong hump at the top there. Just as a camel, when it has a hump, this shows that it is strong. And if it has no hump, it's all emaciated, and then this shows that it is emaciated and weak. Likewise, the Muslims today are in a state of weakness upon the earth. And therefore there occurs in the hadith, إِذَا تَبَايَعْتُمْ بِالْعِينَةِ وَأَخَذْتُمْ أَبْنَابَ الْبَقَرِ وَتَرَكْتُمُ الْجِهَادَ سَلَّطَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمْ ذُلًّا لَا يَنْزِئُهُ مِنْكُمْ حَتَّى تَرْجِعُوا إِلَى دِينِكُمْ. The hadith, and they mention a footnote, or mention the hadith first. Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, when you engage in the Ina transaction. And again, as a side point here, the Ina transaction, and the scholars such as Sheikh Al-Albani, rahimahullah, and others from the scholars before, and at these times, they mentioned that Ina transaction is a transaction involving riba, involving usury. Without going too much off the topic, then it's a transaction, it's a trick, it's a transaction involving a trick. It's basically riba. A person wants to take a loan. He doesn't have money, wants to take a loan, and he has to pay back. The person who gives it to him wants to take riba, usury, for it. But they do it a tricky way. They go around, so it doesn't look like riba, but it is riba. So they describe it as being a person. He goes to a person who's selling something. He'll say, "I've got an item here." The person, what he wants to do is he wants to borrow, for example, £100. So he goes to a shopkeeper or someone with wealth, and he said, "I want to buy this item you've got there." He doesn't want to buy it at all, but he's got this item. So I want to buy that item. How much does it cost? He says it costs £150. He said, "Okay, I'll buy it from you." So then he said, "Okay, I'll buy it then. I've got it from you for £100. Then he says, before he leaves or whatever, he says, "But actually I don't really need the item," which is a bit foolish. Why did he buy it then? He says, "I don't need the item though. What I'll do, I'll sell it straight back to you. I'll sell it back to you." How much will he buy it back for? He said, "I'll buy it back for £100. Yeah? £100. So the man behind the counter, he said, "Okay, no problem. Here's your £100. The shopkeeper has got the item, which is still, that's not even probably moved yet. He says, "Here is your £100. Later on you pay me the £150. Yeah, so that's what happens. So he walks off with £100 in his pocket. In other words, he's got a loan now in his pocket, £100. Go off and use his loan for what he wants. When he has to pay that loan back, he pays £150. It's riba, but it's a trick. It's like that. It's made to look like a business sale. It's called al-Ina. So anyway, back to the text. The hadith of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Idha tabayatum bil-Ina." When you engage in an Ina transaction and you take hold of the tails of cows and you abandon jihad, then Allah will cause humiliation to overcome you. He will not remove it from you until you return to your religion. In a footnote they mention, this hadith is reported by Abu Dawud as a hadith of Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma. And it was declared sahih, authentic by Sheikh Al-Albani. Then Sheikh Fawzan said, so abandonment of jihad is dhulm, is humiliation and weakness for the Muslims. And its presence is a proof of strength and firmness, just like the hump of an animal. And with this, the explanation of the Blessed Book, the three fundamental principles, is ended. Alhamdulillah, that's where the explanation of Sheikh Al-Fawzan ends. And just as an addition at the end there, when Sheikh Muhammad ibn Saleh-Al-Fawzan, rahimahullah, when he ended the book, and he made a dua when he's saying, فَنَسْأَلُ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى أَن يُثِيبَ مُؤَلِّفَهَا أَحْسَنَ ثَوَابٍ وأن يجعل لنا نصيبا من أجرها وثوابها وأن يجمعنا وإياه في دار كرامته إنه جواد كريم والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد. Amen. The Shaykh said, so we ask Allah the Most High that He should reward the author of this book, Amen, with the best reward. Amen. We ask Allah that He rewards the explainer, Sheikh Al-Fawzan, likewise and Sheikh Al-Uthaymeen, and the rest of the explainers from the knowledge of the book. He said, and that He should grant us a share of its reward, and that He should gather us and him in the abode where He bestows honour. Indeed, He is munificent, He is generous, and all praise is for Allah, the Lord of the whole of creation, and may Allah extol and grant peace and security to His Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Amen. Now, as for what we'll do in future, next time inshaAllah, as for next week inshaAllah, there will be no lesson on Monday. The rest of the lessons the same inshaAllah, just next Monday no lesson inshaAllah. The Monday after that inshaAllah, unless something changes, then we'll start with the next book inshaAllah, which is Sharh Sunnah of Imam al-Barbahari, with the explanation of Sheikh Saleh-Al-Fawzan, of course, as usual, explanation of the noble Sheikh Saleh-Al-Fawzan to Imam al-Barbahari's Sharh Sunnah. In the book, if you can get hold of it, the best version to get hold of, for those who have it already, alhamdulillah, or if you can, إتحاف القاري بالتعليقات على شرح السنة بالبربهاري. With Sheikh Al-Fawzan's explanation, the Saudi print, the proper legitimate print, with the Sheikh's permission to grant it in the book, a 2-volume book. If you can't get hold of that, then in Birmingham there is available an Egyptian print of the book, which is in 1 volume, which is, I hope, at least got some resemblance to the correct print, In Shaa Allah. So for whoever can't get that one, then this one is available. There might be some things slightly missing here and there. I just look very quickly. Sheikh Al-Fawzan does a brief introduction, which is missing in this version. So whoever's got this version here, sometimes you might find things missing from it. Wallahu a'lam. Alhamdulillah, sallallahu ala Muhammad, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.
Print it up. Print it.
This one here? I don't, it's Egyptian. Ahmad's got it over there. It's never very far.